15 years ago, I was sitting on the very same benches as you are sitting today, because back then, I was a student at HEC Business School here in Paris. But prior to joining HEC, I first studied arts, literature, history, philosophy, social and political science, so all of the so-called soft disciplines. And I was thinking of embracing a career in marketing and communication, because I thought those were my interests and my drivers. But when I entered HEC, I discovered a whole new way of looking at a business, which was actually pretty much based on financial performance, key performance indicators, return on investment, etc., financial measurements. And I felt some sort of a pressure around me from my peers, from the students and the teachers, because everyone was considering a career in investment banking or consulting. So I began to question myself. And I was thinking, am I missing the point here? I mean, so many people just can't be wrong. So maybe I should to consider engaging a career in investment banking and consulting, which is actually what I did. So I tried, did one internship, and my first job was in investment banking and consulting. And it just confirmed that this wasn't for me at all. And I felt really depressed in a way on two levels. First of all, I was feeling that I was not pulling the right levers, the one that really excites me, and which are about human values, innovation, ideas, creativity. And on the other hand, I felt useless in the company I was working with at that time. And I felt useless for society as a whole. It was as if I was not making any valuable contribution. So this is how I experienced personally this connection between personal drivers, individual talents, and society at large. Now let me just expand that into a bigger picture. I think that over the past decades, we have put too much emphasis on measuring the success of a business based only on financial performance, KPIs, return on investment, etc. And I think this is not operating anymore, because today there are a lot of talent of businesses that are very successful based on different drivers, innovation and creativity, businesses based on ideas rather than financial performance. So that, of course, opens a new field of playing for us. So the question is whether we can adapt or change to enter this new field. And this creates, of course, a lot of opportunities, but it also creates a lot of threats. So let me just address three of what I think are the most acute problems we are facing today. And those three problems are, first, short-term vision. Second would be talent shortage. And third would be addressing the disconnected and the disengaged. So first is short-term vision. By this, I mean that we have put too much emphasis on looking at quarterly results, short-term financial indicators, and things like that. And this, of course, has an adverse effect on a capacity for a company, for a business, to innovate. Again, just one small personal example. A couple of years ago, I was asked by a very creative company from the TV media industry to facilitate a brainstorm to find new branding, strategic ideas. I mean, the brief in itself was really creative in its nature. But much to my surprise, the people who commissioned me asked me to kind of keep sober, tone it all down. And they were afraid that if we were going to facilitate the brainstorm in a too creative way, then it wouldn't be serious. It wouldn't be taken seriously according to the old rules of doing business. So we faced a lot of skepticism from inside the company, which of course has an adverse effect on this company's capacity to innovate. The second issue is the talent shortage. I mean, talents go where the growth is, because it's there that it can bloom and enjoy success. In the 20th century, we've seen some patterns of talent moving that we call the brain drain. I mean, first from Europe to the US, then from southern countries to northern countries. But nowadays, the patterns are different, and there are things happening that are very much unlike what happened in the last century. For instance, we see a lot of young Europeans leaving Europe because it's plagued by economic crisis, and leaving to Brazil or Argentina, for instance, looking for success. So we have to take into account those changes in the way we look for and in the way we source talents. We also have to look for diversity and not be too narrow-minded or focused on academic background or a proven track record. And we all have responsibilities here, especially since I'm speaking at HEC Business School today, which I feel is even more relevant. I mean, I am aware of the irony of me talking about diversity. I mean, who am I to talk about diversity? I was born in France, which is a Western developed economy. I'm white, male, well-educated in one of France's high-profile universities and schools. But this is precisely my point, is that we should try and go past those clichés and know where we can source talent from, how we can attract them, retain them, allow them to bloom, be it in communities at large, be they independent thinkers or doers, be they freelancers. Look for talent where it is. A third problem or issue that we are faced with today is about the disconnected and the disengaged. There are a growing number of people who are disconnected from the economy, especially with the rise in unemployment. So it's true in France, especially, we have built a welfare and benefit system that mostly benefit those who are in employment. But what about the 10%, the 10 other percent? Those people are left aside of the economy and of the many benefits that they could enjoy if only they were let in. So this is something we should address. On the other hand, there is this lack of opportunity, of course, but that there are also personal reasons and drivers, reasons why people choose freely to lock themselves out of the business machine. And they do so because they just don't trust, traditional institutions such as politics, economics, religion, trust, etc. Just think about the Occupy Wall Street movement, for instance. And again, this is a sign that things are changing, and we should be ready to adapt to that and come up with answers to those questions. But the good news are, I believe that with new business models in which we can put human values back at the core, we have a way to address those issues and try and fix them. Think, for instance, of what the US-based French-Indian academic researcher and writer Navi Raju has done. He has studied entrepreneurship models in developing economy, and he came up with the concept of Jugaad innovation, which means kind of translate as do-it-yourself innovation. And he demonstrated that people without an MBA, without any form of academic background, actually, they can thrive and they can meet success and they can create value both for themselves and for the communities and the people around them. But we don't have to go so far as India or China or Latin America to see such examples of new business models, because this is happening right now, right at the corner of our streets, literally. Think, for instance, of Compte Nickel, which is a banking service for the unbanked and the underprivileged. And they can access it from bars and cafes and small tobacco shops at the corner of our streets. And again, don't mistake me. We are not talking about traditional definitions of a social business or non-profit organization, which have been existing for decades now. I mean, the new thing here is that those are profitable business, but yet they are also inclusive business with benefits for everyone within the community. So there are three more ways in which we can address those problems. The first one is being conscious of the problem. The second one is taking responsibility. And the third one would be sharing knowledge and ideas. So being conscious of the problem is recognizing that this is happening, so that we have to take action. So we have to re-examine our business drivers and the way we do business, and the mere definition of value, which should be human value, not financial value only. Second point is taking responsibility. I mean, talent can choose you or not. So it's your responsibility to create an environment which will attract, retain, and allow talents to really bloom. And third point is about sharing knowledge and ideas. History has demonstrated that it's only by sharing ideas that we can achieve a long-term sustainable growth that is of benefit to everyone. So don't look at it as merely stealing ideas. It goes beyond that. And think, for instance, about the movement of open innovation, which actually goes both ways. So on one way, you have this outside-in model, meaning that your company, your organization, must be ready to let the talents and the ideas flow in. And then, of course, the main issue is, where do you have to look, where do you have to go to find the talents and the idea? Again, go beyond the obvious. It's not only about academic research centers or think tank. It's about opening to the communities and to maybe self-made individuals, for instance. The other way is to do the inside out, which is building a platform on which to share your own ideas and your company's intangible assets, and not being afraid of letting other people's joining you in the meantime. So, in conclusion, we have to be aware that this does not only concern you, your organization, your company, or your business. It's about, this is everyone's business. We are all intertwined, linked, so that we have to find common solutions. There is some kind of a battle for a better business in which we should all take part, and battle rules and regulations and old ways of doing business. Just allow me to quote one last example, which is what Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla Motors, did in summer of 2014, which was just 3 months ago. On June 12, he decided to go open source, meaning that he released the 1,400 patents of Tesla Motors overnight. And in supporting his announcement, he said, there is too much energy going into developing patents that do not end up fostering innovation, actual innovation, what we are looking after. And according to the rules of the old economy, this announcement should have been a major blow to the company, to its rating, and to its stock price. But the good news is that the stock prices went up after the announcement, and they are now, 3 months after, still 25% higher than it was before. So in my opinion, this is a sign that, after all, the business community might be coming together, and we might see the end of this kind of a conflict between financial performance measurement on the one hand and intellectual property on the other hand. So my advice would be to be open to those changes, to be prepared for it, Leave aside the facts and figures, the financial data for a while. Just step out into the world, be in the world, and be part of it. Thank you very much.